Uh, Hello, I'm Marci Song, one of the directors at Seam Design, based in Shoreditch, in the heart of creative London, working globally. We are proud to be the official lighting partner for the London Design Festival again this year, which runs now until this weekend. So please do check out these amazing projects and partner events. This is the 16th installment of the London Design Festival, and over these years, it has turned London into the global stage for the best design and talent coming out of Britain. The festival, without a doubt, has helped to grow London into the creative capital of the world. Since the early days, the V&A has been the hub for the festival, and typically the first place that people go to for the best projects and for information. Landmark Projects has now taken over other sites across the city, and there are 11 design districts that have opened up for the festival, including the West Kensington Design District, Shoreditch Design Triangle, and new to this year is the Regent Street and the James Street Design District. So we've been involved in LDF for the past 7 years, and our role on these projects is to use light to tell or enhance these stories and interactions. As test beds, these collaborations have challenged our creative thinking on larger and more permanent projects in our international global portfolio. So let me take you through some of these projects. Amanda Leavitt's Timberwave became the iconic gateway to the festival in 2011. Careful positioning of Iguzzini spotlights, we were able to knit together the arch with the historic facade of the V&A through projected patterns of shadow and light, which gave it an even bigger presence at night. For Endless Stare at the Tate Modern, we programmed grazers and spotlights by Lumen Pulse to move volumes of light around the piece to accentuate the voids and spaces that visitors are able to enjoy at nighttime. Barbara Oscarby gave us a very big challenge to light their ambitious installation of kinetic mirrored wings. So we chose precise framing projectors by ETC. Within an environment carefully illuminated, the mirrored wings looked as though they were truly floating. For Oakham Wall in the Tapestries room, TM Lighting offered their art spotlights that could be retrofitted into the existing track to properly graze the textured surfaces of concrete relief without adding spill to the tapestries. Candela consisted of a programmable UV light bar with a precise cutoff to avoid any kind of UV light spill onto the delicate tapestries. And digitizing the light bar created beautiful dynamic patterns onto a rotating luminescent or photoluminescent surface. And here we have Alex Chennick's Bullet from a Shooting Star for 2015, which is still standing at Greenwich Peninsula. It is programmed with color-changing floodlights and light sequences. On the Smile by Alison Brooks, we used MCI Grupo's slender LED profiles, which highlighted the warmth of the timber interior and created a lantern through the perforations. The Forest for Azif Khan, we lit these by using a very simple system of Iguzzini grazers and uplights. We were able to create numerous effects by illuminating the polycarbonate walls and the ceilings with the cutoff that worked with the ceiling coffer layout. We also highlighted the beautiful greenery provided by conservatory archives and projected foliage patterns onto the soffits. For Transmission by Ross Lovegrove, we used TM spotlights again. The kind of quick change optical lenses and warming filters helped us to graze the front edges of the loops along the full length to create a kind of single sculptural piece. So projects like these would not be possible without forward-thinking sponsors who were huge supporters of innovative creators and makers featuring the best in design. And we've had wonderful lighting partners in the past who have taken these journeys with us, where we are able to show what light can bring to public art and how to demonstrate how good lighting design is a beneficial participant in the global art scene, and how light brings value to design and to art and to the architectural experience. With each landmark project and each art piece, there are many stories and narratives to tell, and experiences to shape through the materiality of light. To engage the public, whether it's tying together a sculpture to the site, or to challenge our perception of lighting design. Do we illuminate the art piece, or do we illuminate the experience? And how do we use our creativity and problem-solving skills to achieve that perfect balance between poetics and physics? These projects are typically fast and commence around May, ahead of the festival. We'll have about 2 or 3 weeks to understand the project brief and conduct analysis. We'll spend about another 2 or 4 weeks, or 3 to 4 weeks to develop a concept in alignment with the artist or architect's vision. And we'll spend another 4 weeks or so for design development to finish locations and quantities, suppliers of the equipment, which are typically through sponsorship. And we'll run mock-ups, another lighting test to finalize the detail and supply. And then August is taken up by fabrication and for the architectural and sculptural components of the installation. And then we arrive to September, which begins the race to completion. So for 2 weeks, we're on site with the delivery team, finalizing the lighting installations and programming the lighting until the festival opens. As a company ethos, we treat each project as a chance to innovate. As a test bed, our work with the festival inspires us to work on our larger scale projects, whether it's developing new ways of conceptualizing, researching, design thinking, and realizing the lighting schemes on experimental and experiential design. It's kind of like our annual extreme sport in design. It's a perfect place to work through extremes. So I'll briefly talk about the pylon and how it relates to one of our large schemes, which is the Mahanakan Tower in Bangkok by Bureau Ola Sheeran. Our lighting test on the pylon helped us to develop on a larger scale a larger complexity of the facade lighting. We started the project out in about 2013, which involved retail components in the podium and in the cube, and lifestyle projects with David Collins Studio like Vogue Lounge, and also the Ritz-Carlton Residence amenity floors. So all that remains to complete is the facade lighting and exterior landscape and plaza lighting. So what's interesting about these two projects is that regardless of size, they required analysis on an urban scale. With the pylon at Greenwich Peninsula standing at 30 meters tall, we looked at visibility from flight paths, from views from far distances and in close proximity. And this would inform us how and when, in terms of visual exposure and nighttime hours of appreciation, we should light the pylon. Mahanakan Tower, standing at 314 meters in height, which is taller than the Shard in London, urban studies have helped us to understand how this will be viewed and experienced along dynamic paths, such as the BTS elevated rail and vehicular traffic, or on static scenarios from other towers and rooftops where people are able to view from a distance. We're able to test drive the system at low risk on the pylon before deploying onto the tower. Conceptually, we looked at Nikola Tesla electrics and colors of molten steel. It was raining a lot that year, so well, why not start the sequence with a lightning strike? Oops. Okay. The pylon itself had 7 units to control. On the Mahanakan Tower, we had over 630 units comprised of over 2,000 addressable units. And we had to do this using the same lighting control system in principle. In cities and urban environments, it's usually commercial and civic buildings that are illuminated at night. Residential towers rarely get lit for obvious reasons like light spill, light ingress. So Mahanakan Tower was a chance to do something iconic for the city. It was also a chance for us to be a part of the new Bangkok skyline. For LDF projects, they have short delivery schedules and short lifespans. On our larger projects, particularly those with high cost, there's a lot of pressure to get the design right and to future-proof so that we're not proposing a design that's a flash in the pan or to propose technology that will become obsolete. So Principal Tower, which is a little closer to home, and actually it's literally across the street from the dark room, Having worked on a number of commercial developments and towers globally, it's not often that we have the opportunity to create nighttime impressions of a building, especially an iconic tower in our own backyard. This tower, similar to the one in Bangkok, is primarily residential, so our investigations led us to propose a simple design that had dynamic capability. We worked closely with Foster and Partners to integrate our lighting into their facade fins, concealing luminaires from the street level looking upwards and from within the building looking out. And Vexica helped us to develop a new product for a continuous lighting and also dynamic play. At each floor, the continuous linear bands of indirect lighting are addressed at 150 millimeter increments for individual control to create patterns, and also controlled together to create a continuous wash of light. Starting with the simple and an elegant scheme, we took the individual bands to create a gradient from the street level and running this up to the crown of the building. And at sunset, the facade lighting is uniform so that is set off of the color of the sky, and it gradually moves upward to the crown of the building while residents come home at night. So on Principal Tower, we understood that a single detail can give optimal effect. Which brings us to this year's landmark project, Multiply, designed by Walt Thistleton Architects at Arup at the Sackler Courtyard at the V&A. So lighting public art requires carefully looking at how visitors will see and interact with the art installation. We studied the behavior patterns such as where are the primary and secondary routes, where are the decision-making points, how could lighting play an integral part of that narrative and that experience. We thought about many ways of how to incorporate light and dynamism by lighting various surfaces or 3D projection mapping, but the pavilion is already complex and engaging, so projections would reduce the visitor to an observer role and not an active participant. So we took a step back and we explored how we could achieve an elegant lighting concept aligned with the architect's approach by exploring how lighting systems can translate into modular prefabrication techniques and assembly without taking away from the overall architectural and spatial design. So after looking at various surfaces and practicalities of CNC milling and integration, we focused on the openings as framing devices that could provide interior and exterior lighting. This single detail could be easily integrated into the modular fabrication process and populate the entire pavilion. The dynamic play comes through the activities and movement of people passing in front of the light source, located at just the thresholds only. The pavilion touches the ground at 7 modules, and we found out that we only had 1 power feed in the middle of the courtyard. So necessary exposed cabling was part of the design, and it carefully followed the corners, the undersides of the stairs, and the net barriers, seamlessly blending the cabling and the infrastructure into the pavilion. And as part of the test bed, we also decided to use Bluetooth modules and controls to reduce the amount of cabling required to create dynamic lighting. And here are some shots of the test build in York. And the 17 modules were delivered to site on Friday before last, and within 3 days, the last module was lifted into site. So for Multiply, the complexity of light is woven into the architecture, adding to the pavilion's enjoyable experience. And I hope that you have an opportunity to check it out before it closes on the 1st of October. So through these LDF projects, we acknowledge how lighting of a tower or an immersive or an interior experience is like lighting an art piece or an immersive environment. Each project has a different and unique stories to tell, and we do our best to weave that narrative through with light. And with projects like these, we witness how lighting engages the public, gathers people together, and particularly in places like London, which is becoming so culturally rich at night. Thank you.